And welcome to Light Years. Samus Fandiari here. Andy Lou across from me in parts unknown. Not going to disclose your location so the local authorities can't find you. Quick housekeeping note. We're recording this before the Celtics and Heat, so not that it really matters. Not like the Warriors are playing. How are you doing, brother?
Yeah. Oh, doing well. Rewatching these games, and it makes sense why the Warriors aren't playing, Samuel. These are some good basketball teams that are playing basketball right now in mid-May. So, you know.
I feel like, and look, the Lakers may win game 4, but I feel like the series is over. 3-0, it's 3-0. And I have a lot of thoughts on it. I think the most interesting thing for me is how much the Nuggets vibes, the way they move the ball, the way they play for each other, feels like the Warriors to me. I know you feel that when you watch it. And I guess my question for you is, did we underrate how good the Nuggets were all year?
I mean, I did. Coming into the season, I definitely did. I thought their biggest issue was going to be defense, but you watch Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. I think specifically Jokic and MPJ. Those guys aren't terrible on defense. It's possible to actually just get better on defense, and I underrated that. I don't think we underrated their offense, though. Dude, they're unstoppable on offense. Now, part of that is because Bruce Brown and KCP can make threes. Doesn't that remind you of like Andre Iguodala making threes and guys on the Warriors just coming off the bench, making big shots, right? So that kind of reminds you of that. But it feels like a team that just loves playing with each other. And that, I think, maybe is the biggest difference between watching the Nuggets and watching what the Warriors are doing, is that the chemistry is they don't give up. The Lakers have it's not like the Lakers have been blown out in any of these games. The Lakers have played pretty well. It just doesn't matter because the Nuggets are just going to say, well, whatever. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, versus the Warriors, which has been, we'll go down 10. Well, all right. Well, this thing's over, right? It's felt like a lot of that stuff this year. So that chemistry stuff is big.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my take. I think LeBron's played pretty well. I think AD's played pretty well. Yeah, LeBron's offense has tailed off, but like he might be playing the best defense I've seen him play in 6 years, you know? And their role players are what they are. They're not that great. Like, they're okay, but like D'Lo and stuff, like the limitation show, but they're competing, and the Nuggets are just too much for them. And I've been thinking about it, and like a lot of this falls into the context of we're now a week and change removed, 10 days from the Warriors season ending. I don't think I ever gave enough credence to how much the punch just sapped the vibes. Like, we spent all year talking about what they couldn't do on basketball, and those are real things, and those are fair decisions. But like, at the end of the day, I'm watching the Nuggets and they're bought in, and I watched the Warriors all year, and really only one person on the Warriors gets a passing grade from me, and that's Steph Curry. Everyone else felt like they had their own agenda. It didn't feel like the Warriors at all. And like, maybe I'm listening to too many Steve Kerr podcasts. It's possible, but like, part of me is just like, look, man, a trade's not going to fix them per se. Like, first things first, they have to all get on the same page, and then we can talk about the actual basketball players.
Will the trade not fix them?
It could, yeah.
Will trading Jordan Poole or Draymond Green not fix them? Maybe trading the former probably is better for the locker room. I don't know. I mean, they'll still have Kuminga in there, who's a young guy. They'll still have not enough vets in there. So look, the problem persists regardless. It's interesting to me that they keep bringing up the Jordan Poole punch, a little bit unprompted, don't you think? Everywhere. Draymond Green has said it in a press conference. He's talked about it on podcast. You said Steve Kerr brought it up on a podcast with Kyle Kami that came out a couple days ago. It seems like everybody has talked about, the Jordan Poole punch. Jordan Poole hasn't talked about it. This situation is weird to me because I feel, I've kind of been rough on Jordan Poole, but he doesn't say anything about it.
Which kind of lets you know how he feels about it. In some ways, like Draymond, you can take what you want from it, but he's at least owning up to the fact that he fucked up publicly. Now whether that matters to you is a different question. But Jordan doesn't want to talk about it in any capacity. he had that nice that interview with Logan Murdoch, and he kind of basically said, like, it is what it is. It's a business. We're coworkers. Just kind of a cold answer, you know? I don't know. I honestly, like, the only thing that is apparent is you watch the Warriors all year and the vibe was off all year, you know? Jordan Poole, in my opinion, played selfishly all year. And we can get into his head and be like, well, yeah, maybe he was playing selfishly because he felt like the team screwed him over, you know? He wanted to start, he got punched in the face, like all these sort of things. And then you got vets kind of also playing selfishly, like we talk about Clay and all that sort of stuff. And then you got other young players who want to get in there and play. And it never felt like they had a cohesive unit going in any way. And that's just, we can point at all the different things, but that's probably the biggest thing they need to solve going into next year.
It's going to be interesting to see what Steph thinks about all this. He's probably not going to ever say anything, dude. I don't know. He's probably never not going to say it. He didn't say anything after the end of the season outside of, like, let's keep our guys together. We heard about his speech. Steve talked about his speech. I mean, but does it to you? Let me ask you this: to you, they can't run it back, because I saw Steve's quote that, you know, Kuminga's going to get better run if he rebounds more. Jordan Poole is going to be coming off the bench. He like, what he can do with the second unit is going to be crucial. Like, I saw him say that, and in my head, I'm like,
I do agree with you. Like, he's going to say that. But it does feel like they need to just make a decision there just to clear the room, you know, in some capacity. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's trading Jordan Poole, it's not about talent. You might get back the same caliber of talent, but it's not going to be guys who have, like, jaded negative relationships with each other.
And it might be a thing too, where what if they just trade him for cap relief? You know what I mean? Like, I guess that's not likely. I don't think they can. You don't think that's, your face was like, ooh, I don't think so.
Well, I think they have major basketball problems if they don't replace him. Like, honestly, this is the dark hole I was in. I was rewatching 2022 games, and I just forgot how good Poole was in the playoffs. Like, yeah, he didn't close games when the series got deeper because his defense is what it is, but, like, he was legitimate efficient offense. And I think the thing that stood out to me most against the Lakers is, like, they had no one who put pressure on the cup in any capacity. Now, you could say someone like Otto Porter, giving you a little more spacing makes it easier for guys to cut, a little smarter, that sort of stuff. But, like, if they just dump him and it's just a bunch of dudes setting screens, throwing it to Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, like, I don't think they do need some form of – they need someone who's going to be dynamic getting to the cup in some capacity, whether it's a big man who dives or another guard. They just need to add that element or Kevin Durant, you know, like, they need to add another element in some capacity.
So, you know, what's LeBron up to? They need to me, something I've thought about when you talk about a dark hole. Mine was a little worse than yours. They need 82 game players, because I was thinking about this a little bit. Clay and Draymond were cooked in the Lakers series. You're watching the Lakers right now play the Nuggets, and coming down the stretch, LeBron is this, you know, he hasn't made a three right in the fourth quarter or something, or now he's made 1 3 in the fourth quarter in that whole series. And he's obviously tired. He's hurt, whatever. Same thing with the Warriors. The Warriors were tired. The Warriors, I don't know if they were hurt. I don't think Clay and Draymond were hurt, but they were tired. Explains why they couldn't make a freaking shot. Clay couldn't make a shot in the first quarter of the game. That's how bad he was. And you can't say that he's all of a sudden just can't fucking shoot. That's not true. Shot 41% from 30, led the league in threes. So I would say the main reason for why he was terrible, especially in that first quarter of game 6, was that he was just gassed. Played the whole season, same with Draymond, just gassed. They need to find a way to find more good 82 game guys to get them to the postseason. Not
or
like
Steve needs to,
guys.
Or Steve needs to play the young guys a little more. Like, I do.
He's defensive on that, by the way. Real defensive. Real defensive on that.
Yeah, he was.
It's a little odd.
And if I was Joe Lacob, I'd feel a certain way about it too. Yeah, because
a little weird. Yeah.
Wiseman, like, my whole thing has always been, I thought Wiseman sucked. That doesn't mean I think all kids suck. Like I thought Moody could play, and he can play, but he didn't get to play all year, like, so it's one of those things where just, for lack of a better way to put it, like figure it out, get a little more cohesive. We all know what a championship team looks like. We saw it last year. Who knows if the Nuggets are going to beat the Heat? It honestly applies to both the Nuggets and the Heat. Get on the same page and actually be committed to it a little bit.
Yeah, because his explanation of low BS was just like, hey, Moody struggled all season. He wasn't very good. He broke through the last month or so, which was, honestly, to me, it was just really bullshit because he's breaking through in a 3-on-3 scrimmage practice, and all of a sudden you throw him into a playoff series. In a playoff series, he's broken through so much that he can play that. How do you know that? You only did that because you had no other choice because you knew that guys like Anthony Lamb couldn't play. Ty Jerome obviously couldn't play, wasn't even on the roster. So it's like you knew that was going to be the case. And all of a sudden you throw a rookie in there or a second-year guy in there because he broke through a month. Like, it didn't make any sense, right? Same with Kuminga. It was like, you need to do this, you need to do that. But it's like he only ever played 20 minutes, and you didn't spend the time to develop him because you were playing Anthony Lamb. And honestly, if he played Anthony Lamb for 15 minutes in the postseason, I'd probably be like, okay, like at least – your process
stand by your by your convictions. Yeah.
Right. At least you ride or die for some reason with that guy. But it's like, no, you didn't even give him a chance because you knew what we all knew, that he's not going to be able to play in a postseason series, right? So that never really made any sense.
And that's kind of, I don't think we talked about it, but like Steve Kerr's nothing if not a guy with like some pretty strong convictions. He's not like, if you don't play the way he wants you to play, he won't play you. He's not gonna mess around with it. You could say it's wrong, but he's pretty serious about it. He spends all year playing Anthony Lamb, and then he decides not to play him in the playoffs. Like, what was that about? Like, it seems to me of something deeper there. And, like I said, we've done this postmortem a few times. To me, everyone has what's the expression, everyone's got to wear it a little bit. Draymond and Clay got to wear it a little bit. The young guys got to wear it a little bit. They were immature. They didn't do their own things. The front office has to wear it a little bit. The roster could have used 1 to 2 more veterans to just keep the locker room in line. And Steve Kerr has to wear it a little bit. He has 2 second-year players who could have contributed more than they did, and I think it kind of jerked around. I don't think development was necessarily where they need to be. So Steve Kerr kept talking about it, and I kind of believe him in this way, and this is where I'm a sucker for the narrative stuff in some cases. It's like kind of getting humiliated is probably good for everyone to, kind of get their head straight in the offseason, because it didn't feel like anyone – They just, it seemed to me like everything was wrong all year, and they just thought because we're the Warriors, we can pull it out, Yeah.
They learned a lesson. Maybe that'll fix some stuff. They mentioned that as a big thing. I even looked at, let me tell you this, dude. I even looked down the list. Like, can Austin Rivers help him?
Sure.
Can Robin Lopez help him? Like, those are the type of the voices and the type of the players that have been good vets in the league for a long time. Can Joe Ingles help him? Right? Like, those, maybe he's a little bit out of their price range, whatever. But like, can some of these guys who
maybe
have
not,
just been in the league for, he was pretty bad, right? But those are my type of players, right? He could make a nice pass, make a three, can't really play defense, but be in the right spot type of guy. They need more of that, and less so guys. Even JaMychal Green. I mean, the blame goes everywhere, like you're saying, top down, but like all the way to the bottom. JaMychal Green, who was kind of just bitching and moaning about PT, and it's like it kind of makes sense, right, for someone like him.
And I do think, I think everything comes back to the Poole Draymond decision in some ways.
That's the decision of the offseason.
I think if you move Jordan Poole for the right player, Kuminga probably thrives, because I do understand the calculus of it's hard for me to play Poole when he's this up and down and Kuminga. And you can use one young guy at a time, but like having 4 of them out there is not so good. So I do get that. I want to ask you about two players, and then we got a bunch of voicemails to get to. Yep. So one thing Steve Kerr said, which I think deserves our discussion, is he keeps talking about how Klay needs to evolve as he ages. I guess my question for you is, what do you think that means?
So do you think that Klay adding the pick and roll game has made him a better player? Because you've noticed he's kind of dribbled the ball more since he's come back. Yes. And I think part of that is he can't move, right? He can't come off screens as quickly. He can't.
Yeah, he's not as explosive. He's not as quick off movements. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's getting the ball and he's kind of like, go set me a screen, and then it kind of all goes to shit. So I think that's right. He mentioned Klay has to get in better shape coming into the season. I think, is Klay the only person that came into training camp last season that said he wasn't in good shape? Usually you look at people and they're like, oh, the best shape of their life. And Klay comes in like, dude looks fat. You know what I mean? So like that was one of the issues. I don't know. What do you think is like a part of the game that he needs to get better on? Like realistically, he's not going to all of a sudden be a slasher.
So I think the first thing is what you're saying. You need to take better care of your body. You're not 25. You can't just go out the night before. Like you have to make sacrifices. And then to me, I think he's just talking about playing smarter, honestly. I think learning to make the extra pass, maybe a little more post up, like more. Klay doesn't get enough credit for his athleticism when he was younger, but that dude comes off a screen really fast and can release it. And against the better defenses, you saw that he wasn't coming off as fast, hand in his face. And that's the difference between shooting 42% and 32% for a guy like him. So I think Steve Kerr is like, first, get yourself in shape. Second, you're probably going to have to deal with the fact that you're not going to get 30 points just coming off pin downs the way you used to. You know, you're going to have to learn how to get to the free throw line. You're going to have to make the extra pass. Maybe you get more assists than you're used to in the past. Like those are the little things I'm thinking of. But to me, it's like overall, it's like, bro, you need to evolve, because if you think you're going to become 28-year-old Klay, you're going to be a losing player, which is what he was in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you're right. Stripping some of the game away is important. I think just doing less than what he used to. That's actually probably the biggest one. Mm-hmm. It's not get a post game, learn how to shoot he remember he came in the league. He did have a little bit of a post game because smaller guards used to guard him. Now people kind of put bigger guys on him just because he can't move as well. But maybe the biggest thing is the mental change. You're right. I think it is less so like. I mean, what can he add at this point in his 30s? He's not adding a handle. He's not adding like a sudden great finish around the rim. Like it's not a touch. He's not adding touch, right? He's not adding all this crazy stuff. It's how about take away some of the stuff that has made you
play smarter.
Yeah. I think that we'll see. I mean, he was still so valuable in the regular season.
But like my biggest fear is he's an 82 game player now, because in the regular season, he hunted his shot, but most NBA teams suck. Like this isn't a stat I've brought up on Light Years, but every team he went for 30 plus against is trash defensively. Atlanta, Portland, Detroit again, Atlanta again. He didn't actually destroy good teams. He used to destroy good teams. Against good teams, he's 5 for 17. And so that's where it comes down to, you're chasing the past. You can't chase the past. Just live in the present a little bit.
So I mean, there's also the mid-range shot that he's not taken since KD was on the team. Remember when the KD Klay teams would just shoot 50 mid-range shots a game for some reason. Maybe that's the counter, right? Because Steph doesn't do it enough, but Steph can do all things. He can just get to the hole, so it's different. But with Klay, it's maybe pump fake from the 3-point line, take a step in, shoot him.
Get to the elbow. Yeah, that 15-footer off the bounce is money for him. So
become Rip Hamilton. I grew up watching him. He wasn't that fun of a watch, but maybe that's someone you can kind of learn a little bit. Reggie Miller.
I do feel like the end goal of all these conversations, just play smarter, dude. Like be aware of who you are, and then just
selfish. He was pretty selfish.
Yeah, just be
we talk about Jordan Poole. He was pretty selfish. Klay was.
Yeah, exactly. The other vet we want to talk about, we got a few people talking about our guy Podmont. I don't know how much I want to talk about this, but just the Lakers slurping. You're calling it corny here. I can't disagree. Someone says you got to talk. I want to be a Laker campaign. Do you think he wants to be a Laker?
Did he say that on the pod? I don't listen to the pod because it's
no good. People are making the innuendo because of I don't know, 8,000 fucking comments, right?
I was about to say the one take I have on this is he spent game 2 tweeting and telling fans about how they're fake fans, and I don't really know who he was talking about.
I don't think he meant anyone specific. I just think he got fed up with his mentions, you know?
Yes. And I think that's the problem. That's the problem, is that you don't get to be mad at your fans, especially if they're the one in your mentions, because you're the one that is nonstop talking about LeBron and the Lakers. And then you pick them to win. And
LeBron James.
Like, I don't get – if you don't get why you're mad, then you're just an idiot, right? It's just that's the thing. It's nobody – and also it invites you more to internet trolls. Like, it's going to be millions of people that are going to kill you for this. And if you're going to get mad about it, you're going to get sensitive about it. First, it tells me that you struck a nerve. Tells me that it tells me that you're someone that, as a trash talker, as good as you are, struck a nerve, which is your problem.
2, you know why they're saying it, and that's why it struck a nerve. So yeah.
I mean, he also wasn't good in the Lakers series. Like, he wasn't the problem. They lost. I think the Warriors had much worse problems, like Clay, for example, and Wu.
And Poole. Yeah,
those are definitely 2 worse players because Draymond had a couple good games, but he also wasn't the same Draymond. He wasn't talking shit. I mean, Bill Simmons brought this up. We brought this up. It's just he wasn't yapping at anyone. Now, I get why you don't yap at LeBron, right? Because Grant Williams, Jimmy Butler, we saw that. So it makes sense why you don't do that. But he spent game 5 talking to Anthony Davis. That was pretty cool. That was Pete Draymond. The Warriors won that game. How many games did he talk to Anthony Davis? Outside of that, 0. So it just wasn't the same dude. I don't know. They still need him to win, Sam. I would like him to still be on the team. He's just a weirdo. Just cut the weirdo stuff out. But I don't know. Maybe he won't learn. I don't know what you think.
You know what's hilarious? If the Warriors get their act together, I think they can beat Denver because I think Steph presents a very unique problem that just basketball-wise they don't have a solution for, right? Like Jokic, Jamal, those guys have issues with Steph in space, right? And it breaks them down. Meanwhile, Denver is a problem for the Lakers because AD can't overwhelm Jokic, you know? And it's like, it's the first time I've seen AD. It's like, it's not like he's playing bad. It's just Jokic doesn't get bothered by him the way that other guys do, right? Meanwhile, AD is an issue for the Warriors, you know? Like, you go through it and you're just like, that dude he can guard Draymond and Looney at the same time and double Steph. And it's just like, there's really only him and maybe Giannis who present that issue for the Warriors with like their current lineup. And it's just funny to me how much these matchups make a fight in some ways, right? Because it really is that simple. Like, if the Warriors figure it out, replace Poole, let's say, and come back with their good vibes, I think they're an issue for Denver because of the way that Jokic can't guard Steph in space, you know?
Yeah, that's always going to be a problem. Though I would argue the other way.
Yeah. Meanwhile, like, I think AD could probably be an issue for them again in the future, you know? So
yeah. But also at the same time, the Warriors, we're not relitigating that series, but there was a lot of zero intensity from the Warriors. I mean, even from game 1, Steph playing 37 minutes and them losing by 5 points. Like, that, it kind of set the tone for the series, right? So, like, they could change some of that. But I don't know. I think Denver, this season's Warriors team, I think they get smacked by Denver. I think Denver wins the series in 4, 5, maybe tops. Last season's Warrior, different story, though. Different story. But you watch. Dude, Bruce Brown and KCP. Bruce Brown has some funny stuff to say about Steph last season because he was on Brooklyn, so he was kind of obliged to be the troublemaker on that team.
He's trying not to get cut. I get it, bro. I've said some weird stuff at work to make sure I'm employed too. No,
but I watch him and he's, there's a lot of Austin Reeves hype. But do you know what Bruce Brown is doing to those guys on the offensive boards? Right, he had a couple big ones last night or yesterday morning. Someone like him is so big. Someone like KCP is so big. The Warriors need those guys. That's what they need those. I don't want to say they need those more than they need an efficient Jordan Poole, because an efficient Jordan Poole papers over a lot of stuff just by scoring 28 points. But who are the Warriors' two-way dogs off the bench? Like those guys. I mean, they had Sean Livingston. They used to have Andre. They used to have even like a David West type. They're totally different player, but just like a big man role player.
Sure.
Who are those guys the Warriors can get? Probably not, because KCP and Bruce Brown are not vet min guys. But dude, I don't know. those are two guys that I'm watching the Warriors. The Warriors just don't have.
I mean, this is where I side with Joe Lacob, where it's like, shouldn't this be Draymond and Clay? You guys are adults. Shouldn't you be running the locker room more than you should? To your point, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, that's something they're gonna have to figure out. I do think GP2 helps a little bit, but we'll see. Yeah. Let's get to. By the way, we gotta do this. You guys have 24 hours left to order our shirt collaboration with Free Bread International. The Light Years Friend of the Show shirt. Shout out our guy, Alau. Free Bread and its initiatives are always looking for ways to give back to the younger generation of future leaders. A portion of all proceeds will be donated to furthering youth education in the Bay Area and beyond. Look, guys, hands down the coolest shirt. None of you wear shirts this cool. This is your chance to kind of stunt a little bit. And look, we're donating all the proceeds anyway. So support it. You guys got another day to order the shirt. We appreciate everyone. Also, if you don't want to, we still appreciate you listening. But shout out our guy, Alau.
Yeah, shout out our guy. Amazing shirts, friend of the show. Dude, what's crazy? And look, it's crazy because I'm in Taipei right now watching the games. I think we're 20 minutes in. I can say where I am, and I watched a basketball game in Taiwan, and you would not imagine the amount of Steph Curry jerseys at these games, Sam. There was at least double digit that I saw. And I'm talking about like dudes and girls. I saw girls wearing Steph jerseys, which I thought was interesting. You don't even see that at Chase.
A lot of friends of the show.
A lot of friends of the show. A lot of friends of the show that don't speak any English. And I asked some people, some locals ended up taking me to the game, and I asked them like, who's the most popular team here? And they're obviously like the Warriors. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, Steph, everybody loves a 3-point shot. And they've been the most famous team for a decade. And I asked him who was the most famous team before that. Take a guess. Who was the most famous player before that? And it's pretty obvious.
Kobe, Lakers. Yeah, come on. Yeah, right. Not even a question. Not even a fucking question. So, yeah.
It's amazing to me. And you know what jersey I didn't see? It was LeBron jersey, which makes me super happy. Didn't see any of those. So it was just it was really cool. You see Steph billboards everywhere around here. So Under Armour's doing something right. But
Under Armour's like, we don't care about marketing Akron, Ohio. We're marketing Taipei. We got Singapore on lock. We got Hanoi.
China. I'm sure China.
Shanghai. Like they're all over the place. They know where the money is. All right, let's get some calls.
All right.
Yeah. So what's up, guys? So generally, I'm not all that confident like this offseason. Really, like I think it makes more sense if like they bring everyone back and like hope Poole is better. Like maybe make some moves around the margins, but like I don't really think they're gonna make it like a huge move because like I don't like if Bob leaves, like I don't know if like Mike Donovan will actually like I don't know put like the kids and like bunch of picks and try to get like a big fish because like look at Denver, like that team's in the prime. Like I like if you look at that team, you know what guys, I don't think this currently is good enough, even if we good enough to actually give up picks and young guys.
Okay.
So that's
yeah, I mean a little bit of a doomer mentality. I will say they literally won a title the year prior. I think the last 2 years let us know this core still has a level of magic in them, but you do need to put the right roster around them. And that means everything from the right young player who can be the third scorer, the way Jordan Poole was, to like the right veterans like Otto Porter and Damian Lee and those type of guys.
It feels like the big pivot point outside of the Draymond Poole stuff this season is the Kuminga stuff, is how good can he get and how quickly can he get there. He's obviously not Kawhi, which is what extended the Spurs, but can he be a high 20-minute rotation player?
Yeah.
Two-way. Can he offensively get there? That's probably the biggest question, because they're not I doubt they're trading Poole and Kuminga for a star. I don't think that's on the table. I can see them trading Poole for like role players, like maybe split that up and get some good role players.
But, I mean, I think the odds that they make a star trade are always just bet again. It's less likely. It just is. Like there's two of those in the offseason. Your team's probably not going to be one of those two teams, you know?
And and I think people diminish kind of the Bob Myers stuff, whether he comes back or not. They diminished the D'Lo trade. I mean, we can kind of argue about what went on with that trade, but he made that trade for Wiggins and won him a championship. And that was not an obvious trade, because Andrew Wiggins was not very good before the Warriors got their hands on him.
No. I mean, and that's to your point. Like, if I was a betting man, I would agree with you. They're probably going to make a deal for someone who's undervalued, who they think in their system they can bring it out of. It's more likely than them doing 8 draft picks for Embiid or something like that, right? You know, like just
although Harden's gone, Embiid's sitting there.
Ugh, I don't want to. All right,
I don't want to either.
Next one, Izzo. So my preference is we run it back with the squad and make some marginal moves, assuming that Jordan Poole and Draymond can squash whatever the issues are. But if that can't happen, if Jordan is just, you're not going to be able to forgive Draymond, and we can't move on and get the vibes intact, then what I'm hoping for, and I guess would be my hot take, is assuming the Hornets take Scoot, then let's do whatever we can to trade for LaMelo. Because if I got to believe that the Hornets are kind of tired of LaMelo and worried about those.
This Izzo's my guy, by the way. Give me your address, Izzo. I'm sending you some free merch. That was not a plant call. With all that said, I put it at under 1% that the Warriors would do something like that in 2023.
If I were the Hornets, I would just pick Scoot and just play both of them. Who cares?
Yeah.
Both of them are super talented. Let's just figure it out with both guys. Seems pretty cool.
Yeah, you're not really in a rush.
Players. Yeah. They don't need another, they don't need another Miles Bridges on their team with Brandon Miller anyway. Just go get the 2 super guards.
Oh, relax. I do think if the Warriors make a trade, it's going to be for someone who's older than LaMelo Ball. So that's my other take. Like,
you're right.
I don't think Charlotte would trade him anyway, but like to the point of the call, I think the Warriors are probably trading for a guy in year 6, not year 3. So
I would say even older, like more like they look at someone like a Markelle Fultz.
That's year 6,
right? Oh, is he? Shit. Well, hey, you're right. I just think someone who knows that they're not going to be a superstar in this league, and they don't have those aspirations. I know he'll probably never say it, Fultz won't, but he knows who he is. He knows he's a good defensive-minded, right, point guard, takes care of the ball a little bit of a breakout season last season. But he knows he's not under any impression that Markelle Fultz is going to be the Markelle Fultz he was drafted as a number 1 pick.
Right? So, no. It's like, honestly, they've had good luck with former number 1 picks. Bogut, Wiggins, turns out those dudes can play.
Right.
All right, let's go to the next one.
All right.
So, fellas, all right, my hottest take is that the James Wiseman for Gary Payton trade not only traded Wiseman off the team, but it also traded Kuminga off the team, because it now has Gary Payton and Andrew Wiggins as the 2 point of attack defenders, which was what Kurz talked about being Kuminga's strength. So unless Kuminga develops next year into a player that's enabling him to like have more of a role besides just being a point of attack defender. I don't think there is going to be enough room for him, and he'll want to trade. So that's my hot take. And then my question was, what do you think about this interaction I had? After the Giants played the Marlins for, I think, the third game of the series recently on Saturday, I saw Logan Webb in the hotel lobby of a rooftop bar that I was at after the game. And Logan Webb pitched 7 innings and had a great game, but they lost because the Giants never score runs. And after I saw him, I just gave him a quick fist bump and I said, tough one out there, like to try to console him, and I patted him on the shoulder. And I was wondering if you guys thought that was cringy. Little, hey, tough one. I didn't call attention to him. He was surrounded by people, and I was the only one to recognize him. But what do you guys think?
We should do a light year segment for celebrity interactions. We can judge them. Because Sam's such a celebrity, and he's friends with all these players.
This is where I wish our guy called in live. Call in live next time we take live callers. I need to know what was Logan Webb's reaction, because what matters is how he reacts to you.
Yeah.
Did he give you the head nod? Did he give you one of these? Or did he kind of ignore you? Because you give him a you dap hey, tough one, and he pretends you don't exist. Pretty cringy. Pretty fucking cringy,
He looks at you what the are you coming in there unannounced trying to touch the guy? Because that's weird, right? You don't want to, because you don't want to give him a shoulder tap coming from behind. He's like, dude, what the hell? But are you coming from on the side, in front of him and telling him? I think if you're coming in from the front, you kind of give him a nod before and you say Logan, something like that. It's cool. It depends on the situation too. He's got to call back in. We need more context there. We need more
context. Now, his basketball question was actually really interesting too. Where does Kuminga find a role now that they're presumably healthy GP2 next year and Wiggins back too? Where does Kuminga find a role?
Well, you can never have.
Yeah. What does he need to do? What does he need to do to be a consistent, as you said, high 20s minute player?
It's kind of unfair what happened. It's unfair how I think Steve Kerr develops him with the leash, with how he says he has to play a certain way or he's not, because Kuminga does something that no Warriors can do, is he can draw fouls. So if he can draw fouls, they've got to be able to say, hey, even if you mess up by not swinging the ball, even if you mess up by not rebounding, we're going to give you a little bit of a leash here because you can attack the rim and you can draw some fouls that gives us a second bit of a change up on offense, which is what Steph mentioned that the Warriors don't have. And then maybe that'll help him rebound more. Rebounding to him is not something he can't do. It's something that he obviously, two things, doesn't want to do and doesn't know how to do. He just doesn't do it because he's never done it before.
You know what's the funniest thing about rebounding for me? He's a space cadet. You know who else was a space cadet rebounding the ball?
Clay.
Wiggins.
yeah, that's true too. I mean, it's true too. Yeah.
He figured it out. Now I trust Wiggins to get rebounds in big games. But how many years do we watch Wiggins just float for 33 minutes, 2 boards? And
he still does it, just not in the playoffs because he's really good in the playoffs now. But yeah.
Well, he knows when he has to turn up, right. And I just wonder if Kuminga got more rope, if he would, turn up a little more too. Obviously that's not what you want. You don't want a guy who doesn't pay attention to the fundamentals all the time. But to your point, you gotta give him a little space to figure it out.
It's like I'm watching Caleb Martin play in these Miami Heat, and he's a role player, right? So he does everything really well. Actually, you can say this for any Miami player, not just Caleb Martin. But they do everything really well. They set screens really well, they cut really well, they rebound really well, they can make an open shot if they're there. But they can't do this stuff that Kuminga can do. But you can argue Miami's playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. They're all winning players. Do we know if Kuminga's a winning player? But Kuminga can still do things that the Warriors freaking need. Yeah. Just because GP2 and Wiggins play great defense doesn't mean that Kuminga shouldn't be playing. He should be playing.
Yeah.
I don't know if they should promise him, but they should figure this out. He's got to figure this out too, though, because the Warriors aren't just going to trade him because he says you got to trade him. It's not going to happen, dude.
No, I mean, I do we've talked about it, but like their two big decisions are Poole and Kuminga. Make a decision, because keeping them in limbo doesn't really make sense for anyone.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Like either you're going to commit to them or you're going to move them in a different way. But like that's the biggest decision. All right, last call of the show.
Hey guys. So I've been thinking about the best path forward for this team, and I think that the best way for them to go about their business moving forward, to give themselves the best chance to really take advantage of Steph's time moving forward, I think they need to look back and emulate a couple of teams from the past, particularly the early 10s Spurs and the early 10s Heat. So obviously I think you need to bring Bob back. Just the value he has with the core and everything and keeping this thing together, I think you try and get him back at least until Steph retires. And then if you can get him back, I think the first thing you got to do is trade JP. I don't think there's any amount of time that, JP and Draymond could rebuild that trust, especially, I just think it takes longer than the Warriors have in this championship window. It's not going to happen overnight, and I think you need to seriously consider that. So I think you trade JP for a couple of rotational pieces, a playmaker, some rim presence, and I think Dinwiddie and Claxton from the Nets fit that perfectly. You're getting the playmaking that you're giving away from JP with Dinwiddie, and then Claxton obviously brings the rim presence, helps on the defensive end with Looney and Draymond. You also need to get Clay and Draymond to sign for some reasonable money, just so that you have cap flexibility going forward with the team. And then I think with Draymond and Clay, I know people have been talking about how Clay may be coming off the bench. I think Draymond actually makes more sense off the bench role, and I think you've seen that work. That's how the whole dynastic run started with Iggy, is having that guy coming off the bench, the high IQ guy that can help run the offense and play some defense. So I think Draymond makes more sense coming off the bench role. And I think Clay, you can emulate at this point, like the Heat Ray Allen type player, where he wasn't an all-star. He wasn't even the second or third option, but he's a guy that can get buckets in high key moments, and just kind of plays in the flow of the offense, defends.
Appreciate the call, my man. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that I agree with, but to his point, if you want to emulate the Spurs, your star players have to actually buy into being team first and not hunting past glory. So that may mean coming off the bench, that may be less shots. Honestly, I don't care who starts or comes off the bench. I just want them bought into their roles a little bit. And I think the difficult part is, that's not a coaching decision as much as it's they need to just get there.
Yeah. Man, that Dinwiddie Claxton trade. I took a look at the money. I mean, it kind of does make sense. I don't know why Brooklyn does it. Claxton is a really, really, really good player on a pretty good contract. I mean, they'll re-sign him to something that maybe fits a little better. But I mean, I'd probably do it. Dinwiddie's not great. He's not great, but that's a veteran that can handle the ball and get buckets a little bit. I think
he knows who he is, though, which is the difference between him and Jordan Poole. He knows his sixth man. Jordan still thinks he might make All-Star someday. So
in the East, in Orlando when they're a winning team. I like the idea. I like the bones of that trade. Like the idea that trade makes sense, right? It's a role player, backup point guard. It's a big
two role
that
players.
Rim runs, right? Play some defense. So it's like two guys that makes a lot of sense. So he's right. He had a 16-point plan though to get there, and I thought that was really cool. Draymond coming off the bench, that makes sense a little bit too. To get Looney, big changes is what it means. We're end of May here, Sam. The NBA Finals are not done yet. Bob Myers has yet to make his decision. The next time we come on, Bob Myers may either be the new same GM of the Warriors, or he may be in Cancun with the Lakers. So we'll see. But either way,
Salesforce keynote.
I just if you
make a decision, bro.
If Bob is not here, do you think we hear from him for a year, or do you think he does the Tim Duncan, you just don't hear from him, and then he pops up?
I would be surprised if he did a bunch of NBA media. Personally, I think he's taking time away from the limelight if he does it. So
He's not on Inside the NBA with Chuck and Shaq. Just with the
just on NBA TV on Tuesday night with like Brandon Haywood.
Dude, that's love of the game. Bob Myers does something that's like, you might as well just been the GM for 20 minutes. What are we doing here? All right.